When Ghost of Tsushima released in 2020, it reminded players around the world what Assassin's Creed was before it completely changed its identity into a role-playing game. The original AC games were solidly action games that presented a protagonist that could easily be labeled as a one-man army, an open-world map that's large and filled with things to do, but not so large that one can't see and do everything, and a story set in a real place and time that gives players a taste of history. Since then, we've all been anticipating the release of Ghost of Yotei, Sucker Punch's follow-up to Tsushima, but the wait is finally over. This new game transports players from the southern island of Tsushima up to the northern island of Hokkaido, or as it was known at the time, Ezo. Yotei also pulls us over 300 years into the future, firmly distancing itself from Jin Sakai's journey in the first game. Our new ghost is a hard woman who shows no fear in the face of dangerous men. She may be smaller than her adversaries, but that doesn't seem to matter. Power is all about leverage, and Atsu is a shrewd warrior. Her combat movesets are all about the right tool for the job. Where the first game equipped players with one katana and gave them multiple stances to deal with the varied enemies, Yotei opts to arm Atsu with different weapons that have strengths and weaknesses depending on who she's currently fighting. One katana very quickly becomes two katana, after that a chain blade called a kusarigama, a spear, and an odachi. To any unfamiliar with an odachi, it's like a really long katana. In Yotei, this serves as one of the most valuable combat tools. While all weapons have a specific weakness, the odachi has an equal effect on all foes. Players need only learn its slower, deliberate timing. Ranged weapons return as well. Atsu has a short bow, long bow, throwing knives.
Pocket sand.
Yes, pocket sand, but also smoke bombs as well, and eventually a rifle and pistol. Some of these are aimed, and others are used as a quick-shot weapon, but they're all equally accessible in combat. There are 5 different difficulty levels: casual, easy, medium, hard, and lethal. A friend and I each started this game on hard, and we both had to ratchet it down to medium. Most normal enemies are fine on hard, but elite enemies, especially in groups, can make hard very hard, especially early on in the game. Aside from obvious permanent improvements to Atsu's health and spirit acquired at Hot Springs and Bamboo Strikes respectively, the biggest alterations to gameplay come in the various armor sets and charms that players can find, earn, and purchase. The tweaks these can offer are so drastically varied that I won't get into all of it. But I was able to build a loadout with a fan shot of flaming throwing knives that would spread stagger damage like wildfire because of my specific armor set. I could walk into a crowd of enemies and down them within seconds. Yotei is filled with potential gear combinations like this that can drastically change one player's experience from another. Whereas Tsushima was extremely linear for an open-world game, Yotei deviates from this structure heavily. After a brief intro where we learn of Atsu's quest for revenge against the Yotei Six, the world opens up and allows players to take many of the main story beats at not only their own pace, but their own order as well. When talking to my friend that was playing the game at the same time, our first 20 or so hours with the game were drastically different. It brings to mind some of the best open-world games ever made, such as Breath of the Wild, The Witcher 3, or Skyrim, even letting players fast travel to any previously visited locations. Eventually, all players will reach the same destination, but the roads traveled will be different for just about everyone. While exploring the world, players will find a much wider assortment of things to do than were found in Tsushima. There are still foxes and birds to follow, even wolves now, but there isn't as much of a reliance on these to reach objectives. Helpful yellow painted statues key players into the locations of hidden skill point shrines, and maps purchased from a cartographer or given as rewards can be placed on the world map to label new objectives. Some quests even have their own clever form of uncovering secrets. There are plenty of puzzles in the game, but most are so easy that they weren't satisfying to solve. Good puzzles usually take me some time. Great puzzles often demand that I do some Google searching. I needed no assistance for any of these, and most I didn't need to ponder longer than a moment. One of the more disappointing qualities of this game, to be sure. But where the Ghost series has always shown brightest is in its portrayal of characters and culture. And before we get into the story, I want to commend Sucker Punch for highlighting a unique element of local Hokkaido culture, the Ainu. These people are indigenous to northern Japan and southeastern Russia, and having them here is a fascinating contrast to the typical imagery of feudal Japan. The Ainu aren't necessarily tied too deeply into this game's story, so seeing them fleshed out so well in this game means that Sucker Punch really did their research on this time and place. Regarding the main plot of this game, I really don't want to spoil too much. It starts like every other revenge story, with Atsu losing her family as a child, and then pushes Atsu emotionally further from her perceived objective again and again. At the outset, Atsu is ready to die for her cause, but the more she explores her homeland of Ezo and gets to know its people and reintroduce herself to some who still know her, she finds she has much more to live for than she ever imagined. The individual story elements aren't anything players haven't seen in other games, but the way that Sucker Punch weaves these contextually complicated relationships, usually associated with revenge tales, into something a bit contradictory is what makes this game so refreshing. Where does Sucker Punch go after this? If they're building this as some sort of trilogy, there are certainly more times and places in Japan's history that would be perfect. Maybe a Ghost of Edo, where we finally get to see an early Tokyo? Or perhaps they throw all of this away and do another Sly Cooper game. Open World Sly could be a banger. What do you think should be next? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. For more reviews like this, consider subscribing to Hackathon News.